Here at In the Wheels podcast, we are committed to bringing you the brightest and best from all parts of cycling. And today it is my great pleasure that this episode is with a commentator, actually, who does esports as well as Mountain Bike Eliminator. So if you've ever heeded my advice to watch some Mountain Bike Eliminator, you will have heard her voice. And today you'll get to see her if you're watching the video version. So today we are in the wheels of Emma Martin.
That's all right. The computer's on the other side of the studio.
I didn't even notice it had changed.
No. We got this studio that I'm in. As you can tell, it's like a sloping roof, isn't it? It's an old beer cellar this studio is in, which is really interesting. She said, I've got to reset the damn camera. See, I don't normally have a camera on me. Well, that's not true. I do normally have a camera on me, but it goes to the production team and not out live.
Wow, okay, that's interesting. I mean, we might as well start it from here already. So, obviously, kind of a hot intro, but rather than my sort of cold sort of starting place. Like, obviously, this looks like a magnificent studio. Like, how do you find the kind of commentary in general, like the whole process? Because to me, it fascinates me. It looks so effortless, and I guess as an outsider, you just assume people show up and talk and done. You know, that's it. Like, the race is on for 2 hours, they talk for 2 hours, and happy days, you know?
Well, I suppose that is the happy days bit, isn't it? But yeah, we do turn up in the studio and we do talk for 2 hours, but that is like the final part. That's like putting the cherry on the cake that you've baked. You know, the background work that goes in to delivering a 2-hour live show is phenomenal. We always reckon it's about a full day's work for a 1-hour show.
Wow.
But then you're talking about you understanding the sport, which actually is a lifetime. I mean, I've raced mountain bikes and coached. I'm a mountain bike coach and have done that for the last 15 to 20 years. So you have to have a lifetime of knowledge to draw on, but also you've got to, you know, you have to do your work on the course, you have to do your work on the production, on the schedule, you've got to do your work on the riders. I do a lot of work between shows talking and chatting to riders, and a lot of work talking and chatting to riders on the day as well. So it isn't just walk into the studio, sit down, put your headphones on 10 minutes before we go live and say what you see on the screen.
Yeah, kind of, I guess, that background knowledge really can go and like pay dividends. And how do you find that? Because I know you primarily as a voice from Mountain Bike Eliminator. You know, it's a niche discipline that I really love. I'd love to hear about the sort of different events that you talk on as well. But like, how do you find that one? Because obviously your studio, I'm guessing, is not portable. You're just there in wherever you are in the UK. I assume it's the UK, but like, none of the World Cups for Eliminator are happening in the UK. The closest we get is a misassigned flag for Gibraltar, where they've, on the results site, they've accidentally used the UK one. But like, you know, you're commentating on Palancaraya, on Sakarya, Lerva, etc. You know, places all around the world. So how do you find, like, keeping up with the riders? Are you able to, and also, I guess, the courses, because you're only able to go off video. How do you find that side of things?
Well, social media is a wonderful thing. And I always find it amazing how I personally feel like I know riders all around the world who I've actually never met in person. I've only ever watched them race on a screen and spoken to them copiously on social media. And on WhatsApp and etc. So that level of communication is there. I mean, when you do get to go to an event, you do get that added bonus, obviously, of then being able to talk to the athletes in face to face, which is absolutely wonderful. But I always find it very funny these days because you feel like you know the riders, even though you've never met them in person, just through being able to chat to them, being able to follow them, being able to watch them racing. And the different styles of racing, I think, really tell you something about an individual and a character as well. I mean, mountain biking and cyclocross are my race disciplines
Mm,
where I have historically raced. And I'm a mountain bike and a cyclocross coach. So the technical features and where the race is won and lost, that coaching knowledge and the background of, I mean, I took one of the youth squads to the European Mountain Bike Championships for 4 years in a row. We used to take under 14, under 16 male and female squads out for
mm.
4 years. And I always think that type of technical environment where you are coaching individual features, but then also seeing the relationship between the features, I think is really key for City Mountain Bike and XCE, because those features come so thick and fast on those short courses. Often where you see a rider have an incident, that's not where the incident started. It started maybe a feature before where they technically got the entrance or the exit to that feature wrong, which then pushed through and caused the problem in the race. So I think that technical element is really important, and that doesn't come from being a commentator. That comes from, being a coach and a racer.
Mm.
So that comes through. But so I mean, I love the XCE. It's short, it's fast. For me, I always used to say to some of our young riders, to some of our youth and junior riders on the mountain bike squads, we had some phenomenal riders who could go out of the start pen and would lead the race for the first 2 or 3 minutes. 30 minutes in, they were maybe around 10th, 11th place. But this type of discipline for me really it's like a track sprinter, isn't it, versus an endurance rider. And actually this for me gives something different to those mountain bike riders. And I sometimes think we don't push this pathway enough, particularly in the UK. That there is another form of mountain bike racing that isn't an hour and a half on a bike. And if you are a short, sharp sprinter who's very good technically, XCE is a great opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually this year it was the first time there's a British person who made it through to knockout racing.
Yes.
Because last year we had Megan Sunderland who did the qualifying at Barcelona and got knocked out, and then
And this year, Ollie
Akers,
Akers.
yeah, who I've chatted to on this. He's a lovely chap, and I'd love to see more British riders do it because, yeah, it is exciting as you say, and like for me, I love that the races are so short, and it's like, oh, if you don't like this race, well, there's another one in 2 minutes, so you'll get to see different riders, different styles, and different, I guess, dynamics. And yeah, you can get some wildly diverse racing. Again, using Palancar as an example, you get like all those crashes, and then you get like some of the Indonesian riders who don't get a chance on the continent, like to come over to Europe, absolutely excelling. And then you had like Lockie Brown winning like his first ever World Cup. And then, other racers who maybe are fancied who don't do as well, possibly because of a travel, possibly, just bad luck because it is that fine margin.
And also in Plankaraya, we had issues on the start straight. Those riders were so caught and focused on getting to that first corner, that first section of boardwalk around that corner, because there was one good line around it. There were multiple lines, but you wanted the core line. And the frantic scrabble in some of those races on that start straight caused real problems for the riders. And I love that about it. It's not just about skill. It's not just about power. It's not just about speed. It's about technique and tactic. But it's also about what I like to call husbandry. It's about being able to get your bike around the course in one piece. And bearing in mind the races are only 2 minutes, you think riders could do that.
Well, but then the power they're putting in, you snap a chain.
I was going to say those chains don't last long.
No. Also, imagine like the amount of power you're having to put in, and like, yeah, it's kind of crazy in a way.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah, XE is one of your disciplines. What else do you commentate on? Because I did see like a brief show reel, but I can't remember. And if it's not written in big bold letters, I'm not really taking it in, I must admit.
So I do a huge amount of esports. So in terms of e-cycling, in fact, yesterday morning I was doing the trial event for the Esports World Championships later in October.
Wow.
So we had a test event yesterday morning. That this year will be in Abu Dhabi live. So the 20 male and 20 female riders who progress to the final, it will be a live hosted event in Abu Dhabi in October. So that's going to be fantastic. And that's another event where obviously majoritively people are racing and riding in their homes and coming together on screen. But I do that weekly. So I have a weekly show for the Sunday Race Club for my Whoosh, which is fantastic. And I do other shows as well on top of that. But that is my only racing discipline now because of the commentary and because majoritively I work weekends. Actually, my own racing has, shall we say, halted, and now I jump on esports majoritively to race. But I also do. Last night I was at the British Cycling Grand Prix, so round 6 of the Grand Prix series up in Colne in Lancaster. I got home at 1 o'clock this morning, so slowly into the office this morning. But that again, that's a fantastic series, 7 rounds within a month. And I've been on all bar one of those. I didn't travel down to Guildford.
Yeah,
but all of the northern ones. So that's good fun. And I also, last year at the World Championships in Glasgow, I love a little bit of niche cycling. But indoor cycling was the event I covered at the World Championships last year. So for those of you who think indoor cycling is sitting in your garage on a turbo trainer, it's not. Artistic cycling and cycle ball are the 2 disciplines that the UCI puts together for indoor cycling. And I'll tell you something. Those are amazing disciplines. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really love that. And the community there, open arms, welcome community, and really great. I think it's a little bit strange because artistic cycling, it's like everybody is quiet and calm. And then they intersperse it with a little bit of cycle ball and the flashing strobe lights come on. The people come back from the bar with their beer and the cycle ball comes on and then it goes calm again because the artistic cycling is back on. And I'll tell you something, that artistic cycling is phenomenal. The level of skill there is amazing.
Yeah, and I love how there are spaces for niche disciplines where, like cycle ball, like the Germans absolutely clean up on that normally. And it's just like I watched the British first match of the cycle ball and it was a bloodbath in many ways because Japan just floored them.
The British cycle ball team have only been in existence for about 4 years.
Yeah.
Most of their kit was given to them by a German team.
Amazing.
But it's growing.
Yeah.
And actually, when I was talking to them in Glasgow last year, since then, they've been really active touring around the UK and taking cycle ball to different cities in the UK and really trying to get that. In Hong Kong, it's a school sport.
Wow.
Yeah. So, at school, in a PE lesson, you can do cycle ball in the gymnasium. You can play football on your bike.
Gosh. So in another life, in another era, David Miller would have not been a time trial medalist. He would have been a cycle ball medalist.
Cycle footballer. I mean, I love it. Yeah. Yeah. I just love cycling, as you can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really infectious. I love it. Like, because as we said, as you said earlier, like the commentating is the culmination of all the hard work. Like, do you find it is work, or would you kind of describe it differently?
Oh, I have my dream job. Even before when I wasn't commentating, if you go back 15 years, I would probably I probably wouldn't have been watching quite as much cycle sport in terms of the diversity, but you could definitely guarantee that I was probably watching as much cycle sport on the TV in terms of time than I am now. And I was out and about every weekend, either racing, training, coaching midweek, etc. So I suppose for me, now that I commentate full time for the last 18 months. This is my full-time job now. I don't think of it as a job at all. I think about it just as an extension of my life, and I thoroughly love it. I'm an exceptionally lucky person to do what I do in a sport that I absolutely adore, and whether I was talking about it or not, I would be as involved with as much time as I am now. I don't quite know how I used to fit in a different full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that. Like, do you, because that was going to be a question much later, but I'll ask it now. Like, do you end up watching other people commentating? 'Cause, like, I
Oh,
used to
yes.
work in the hotel industry, and if ever we went somewhere else, like, it was me and two of my sisters-in-law, like, we all worked in the same hotel. So then when we went to like weddings or things and had to stay in a hotel, we were like, oh, they've not folded that napkin right, and like completely critiquing it. Like, do you end up watching and kind of listening to commentary and going, oh, I'd like to incorporate that, or oh, I wouldn't have done it like that? Or do you just try and watch it as a fan almost?
Um, there's definitely a bit of both.
Mm,
So definitely in cycling, I definitely am a fan of the sport. And I don't miss, for an example, a mountain bike World Cup.
hmm
I'm there for the short track. I'm there for the XCO. I'm sat on that sofa every time. For me, then sometimes the commentary is secondary. I'm still listening, but I do. I wouldn't say watch sport. I listen to alternative sports when someone's told me there's some really good commentators.
Okay.
To listen to the commentary. And I love a bit of Murray Walker on
Mm,
Formula One. He was, you know what I mean? Sometimes when you want a little bit of inspiration or you want to listen to something a little bit different or remind yourself what really good commentary is, you know,
yeah.
pick up a bit of Murray Walker Formula One and watch something old. I also love watching old reruns of the Tour de France, for example.
Mm,
You know, so really, and again, probably less for the sport, more for the commentary. So yeah, I do think. I like you've just said about the hotel industry. I think when you do something for a job, you listen or you watch or you observe something different
mm,
to when it's not your job, when it's not your career and it's not your passion. So definitely a bit of both. I still watch sport for sport, but
yeah.
I do also have an ear on the commentary thinking, oh, actually, that was really good. Did you see how those two linked into there? And they really, this couple really throw, the commentary back and forward really well. And I really like that when you really get, two commentators where the flow is just phenomenal and they pick up on each other's words, phraseology, and it's almost like you're listening to one person, but you're listening to two different voices.
Yeah. Oh, I love when there's that synergy.
Yeah.
And I've actually found it distracting when there isn't that in a way. Like, there are commentators or commentary teams where I can hear when they're like, I'm not a commentator. I'd love to be, but I'm not. But I can still hear, like, I guess from doing this, or maybe from when I was a teacher, like, I hear the cues for when someone's expecting a particular type of response, and the other person kind of just either doesn't clock it or just ignores it entirely. And it sounds like two individuals have turned up and are commentating on the same race, and you've accidentally gone into the audio, like by mistaking, are getting both when you should only get one. Whereas, yeah, that synergy is amazing. And on Murray Walker, like, some of the younger viewers maybe don't know who he is.
Oh,
But
they need
like,
to Google.
he was great, and he proved that you don't have to be perfect, because I
Yeah.
guess it's good to know your facts and to have all that research, but sometimes it will go wrong, and you'll say something like completely daft, and there's a whole website like dedicated to just Murray Walkerisms where he said
Yep.
something like, "Oh, there's these inclines, they can go up as well as down," or there isn't a car like this Ferrari apart from the one behind it. Like, just
Yeah.
saying
And,
completely wrong stuff, but
but
it
you
works.
cannot be live. You cannot be live on air
Mm,
for the length of time he was, and not say something like that. I mean, it's if you're thinking about what you're saying, you're not following the race.
yeah. I think that's kind of key is that passion taking over. Like, I love when you can hear someone's passionate and not
Mm.
just almost going through the motions or because I can imagine it's difficult on big broadcasts where you're told what to say and you've got a producer in your ear saying, "Oh, you need to mention this and you need to mention that." And like again, WWE um as a concept, their lead commentator is constantly being told what to do by the producers. And they've got to be engaging whilst also saying, "Oh, this match is brought to you by Snickers," and doing their slogan. And that must be so hard to make it sound authentic in a way.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I was just thinking, until you actually experience having someone talk to you in your ear whilst you are actually talking about something that you're watching, it's a bit like, patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. It's
Mm,
one of those things that you really don't realize how difficult it actually is until you actually do it or you have it happen.
yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, the action is absolutely going wild on the screen because it's the final, and you've got cues in your ear coming. Well, we're going to go to an interview in such and such, and it's not going to be Simon, it's going to be Susan, and so is, and you've got a constant dialogue going on in your headphones whilst you're actually trying to talk and watch about the final of a race. So it's one of those things you really have to get used to, and the first time it happens, it is one of those very strange things. You think, oh, I should listen, because everyone's told you should listen when someone talks to you. But
Mm.
actually, the last thing you can do is listen, because you've got to watch and talk. So it sounds quite straightforward, but actually, people should try it. It's actually really quite difficult.
Yeah, I could imagine. Like, I find it difficult when my wife and my eldest daughter are talking at the same time. Like, I can't focus on both at the same time. Like, and if I'm trying to say something and my daughter interrupts, I just stop and let her speak. And I'd be like hearing a producer and going, "Oh yeah, okay, give me a minute. Oh, yeah, I'm meant to be talking at the same time." Um, yeah, that does sound like incredibly difficult. Do you often have like, just obviously you and Matt tend to do the XCE together. I don't know
Mhm,
if you work together or do sort of solo broadcasts as well.
mhm.
But do you have a producer kind of monitoring things and telling you what's coming, or do you just have to like go with whatever's up? And because again, like just to use an example, the touring and Lotto ladies tour, I've probably got those in the wrong order, but the recent women's world tour race
Mhm.
in Thuringen in Germany, like they'd just put random clips in, and it it came across that the commentators weren't told this. It was just happening, and they were having to react kind of live and go, "Oh, we're trying to talk here, but here's a clip about Gera and the city that it is." Um, so yeah, how does it work for yourselves?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on what show you're on. So in terms of XCE at City Mountain Bike, each of those shows has a run list. So
Okay.
down to sometimes down to 10 seconds. So it can be sometimes on my desk in front of me here in the studio, I've got 6 sheets of A4 paper sellotaped together, which give me second by second the rundown and plan of the show.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, which is fantastic. And then occasionally, maybe once or twice, you'll get the production team in your ear just queuing in an interview, for example.
Hmm.
And the rest of it is run off that sheet. And here in the studio, whilst we're doing the commentary, I tend to pick up the run sheet and make sure we're running to time. And so one of us takes on that role in the studio as part and parcel of the commentary. I mean, other shows that we do, some of the other shows we do, the production team have control over what's on the screen. We know the race is going to go for 35 kilometres, for example,
Mhm.
and we've got a start list.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow. Like.
um, so I mean, it really does depend. But normally, if anybody's running any VTs mid-show, we've seen them before. So they'll
Mhm.
come through beforehand. We'll take a look at the video and we'll know on the sheet roughly when it's coming in, and then we know for that 1 minute that piece of VT is running. It's really interesting. You say about working with Matt, my co-host on the XCE. It's great when you work with someone regularly
Hmm.
because their strengths and you can bounce off each other. I mean, we do both have individual work as well. And I always think it's really interesting because I think it's a different dynamic to go back to the XCE, the show when you've got one of us versus two of us. Working behind the scenes, it's far easier with two than it is with one. Because you've got the time to change the results screen before the between the semi-finals and the finals, before you've got a 15-second warning that you've got 15 seconds for that whistle to go. But it's just as fun with one. So I mean, it varies, doesn't it? I mean, Matt, for example, my co-host, is doing the mountain bikes for the Olympics for the BBC this weekend coming.
Oh wow!
So he is off and up there. So that will be really interesting. So it is, yeah, it's good. I mean, he does a huge amount of cyclocross for the UCI over the winter season. I don't touch cyclocross. So we have different disciplines across full speed events. Obviously, the company we both work for. And some work we do together, some work we do separately. And it's good to have your own specialism and your own area, but then to be able to come together and work as a duo.
Oh, nice. We are coming close to time, so I'll make the last two questions now. What's been, because I've started asking this, and if this goes badly, this isn't going to make the cut, so people will just hear a gap here. But like, what's been your most kind of memorable day within cycling? Whether that's let's go for commentating.
Yeah, I can tell you my most memorable day not commentating.
Go on.
I finally made top 3 at the Nationals on a mountain bike. I'd raced for a long time and finished 4th. When I made 3rd, it was a very good day. Rather than stand on the British cycling truck and commentate, I actually managed to stand on it as a podium winner. So that was a good day. Not that I'm proud of that or anything. I quite like the fact I'm on that truck in 2 different ways. But in terms of commentating, what's my proudest moment? I like to think that's still to come, to be honest.
See, memorable doesn't even have to be good. It could be memorably bad.
Well, no, I just think, in terms of memorably good, I am just inordinately lucky that I do what I do. I absolutely love what I do. Cycling for me is more than sport. As a coach, I work particularly with women and young riders. And the fact that cycling added to their lives and gave them a skill set above and beyond what cycling was an absolute dream, And I actually think the whole of sport can be like that. I mean, I work in esports a lot, and we see a lot of riders and racers racing at an elite level there, who would never have the opportunity to be an elite level outdoors because of the parameters of whatever it is, their career, their lives, their focus, and it gives them an opportunity to do something and be someone and have that added extra to their life that they wouldn't have had if cycling didn't exist or that particular sport didn't exist. So for me, I suppose, it's just far more than putting words to a bit of action. Although putting words to the action is absolutely wonderful because you are there as it is happening.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time. The only question I have left, which I ask everyone, is like, how can people keep up with you on social media, see what you're doing, where you're commentating, and that sort of thing?
Oh, the best place to catch up with me is at biking_Emma on Instagram, or you can follow us at Full Speed Events.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, there you go. As I said at the start, it was a bit of a different one for us in terms of the guests. We don't usually have commentators, but I think they're an integral part to cycling. As a sport, they give us the words to the pictures that we see, and without them, it would be a lot more dull. So I'm really thankful for Emma and for her time taking us down the route of how she became a commentator and everything like that. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon, really.